If you're wondering why I'm coming out here and, according to one of my shelter friends, very gentle accusations, like revealing all my secrets or whatnot, it's because I recognize the sad fact that I am the peon and I can't win. No matter what happens with my mother, I am going to be royally screwed over. So, just me going out here and saying what I intend to do or whatnot is along the same lines of when my cousin was honestly, repeatedly, periodically, over the course of weeks, practically screaming at me to take this to the media, take this to the press. Every time a new development arose, particularly when we found out that Uncle had completely joined forces with Auntie, okay? His sister, who he was totally against. My mother never would have made Uncle healthcare proxy had he been for his sister, obviously, okay? So I can't win either way. I have a right to get my story out. I have a right to get my story out as much as anybody who gets screwed over in this life has a right to get his story out. His or her story out. You know what I mean? My God. My mother even, remember with a joint account, either party can change the address. My mother even temporarily changed, I say temporarily because Auntie went and changed it back, but my mother changed the address of their joint account. My mother discovered that Auntie had taken out an insurance policy on my mother with Auntie as the beneficiary. Okay? Was it a huge policy? No. But it could be. You understand? My mother knew she had never signed it. My mother reported Auntie that my mother called up. But she's not going to have Auntie as a beneficiary on her insurance policy, on my mother's life when she's stripped Auntie of all power. She called up and made me the beneficiary. Okay? It was a small policy, but that's not the point. My mother didn't even know of its existence, and it could have been a huge policy. Auntie has no checks and balances had no checks and balances. She could do whatever she wanted, and she did do whatever she wanted. Who knows what else she's done? Of course, Auntie doesn't want a third party appointed over my mother because that third party is going to continue the lawsuit against Auntie and investigate. Auntie knows my mom's terrified of having a third party. She thinks all kinds of things that my common sense says can't be true, but then again, I don't know. I don't know anything. All I know is I'm the peon here. And that my mother's terror will inevitably cause her to even perjure herself. I doubt she'll even take the stand, but whatever, it doesn't matter. I have a right to be there, especially because I know in my gut instinct tells me the only way Auntie can turn this around is just to place blame, to act like my mother never wanted this, like she was forced into it, etc., etc., etc. It's all bullshit. That fucking insurance policy was changed to my name as beneficiary, okay? My mother called up and said I never signed anything. My sister did this. She reported it as fraud, and while she was in the hospital, she thought it was a done deal, that insurance policy was now me as the beneficiary. But unfortunately, while she was in the hospital, all kinds of stuff came where she had to sign something stating she definitely wanted to keep the policy and she was going to keep it because it was a small policy and she was going to make me the beneficiary. She figured, why not keep it? The fact of the matter is, Auntie could take out a huge policy. If she took out a small one, she could take out a huge one. She could be doing all kinds of stuff we don't even know about. But my mother, nobody held a gun to her head. She had stripped Auntie of all power. She discovered this secret life insurance policy. She changed me to the beneficiary. She thought it was all set. They needed it in writing. They needed to just acknowledge in writing, I want to keep this policy and make your daughter you want your daughter as the beneficiary. Well, guess what? She broke. She's in the hospital. I sent everything back. My mother did want to do this, etc., etc., etc. Okay? She couldn't sign anything. She couldn't acknowledge she wanted to, This is all sick. Okay? Even that is sick. That my mother discovered a secret life insurance policy that Auntie had taken out with Auntie as the beneficiary. Even in her fucking email, she's making all this crap like, I had to cover your funeral expenses. Your daughter said she wasn't going to attend your funeral. She's just fucking with my mother's head. If Auntie is in all control and the executor of the estate, etc., 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 it wouldn't matter one goddamn iota if I attended my mother's funeral. Whether or not I attended my mother's funeral, it doesn't matter. It's just a way to fuck with my mother's head and her not understanding, as usual, to use her ignorance, for Auntie to use my mother's ignorance to Auntie's own benefit, okay? Auntie's in complete control. Auntie even took out a fucking insurance policy my mother didn't even know about, making Auntie the beneficiary, okay? Auntie does whatever Auntie wants to do. My mother's always wanted everything to go to me, including her 401k, okay? It's all bullshit. Either way, I get screwed. I have every right to talk about it. Like people throughout history, including Anne Frank, who was just featured and been Fault in Our Stars, okay? Her story was part of that, or, you know what I mean? I have a right to tell my fucking ridiculous story. Even that small part shows what Auntie is able to do, because there's no checks and balances on Auntie. You get it, people? I'm a peon here. Either way, I'm screwed. The only thing I have is my ability to succinctly communicate my thoughts and feelings. The only thing I have is my ability to tell my story. And I will not be the scapegoat in this. I will not allow my mother or anyone to have me be the scapegoat. My mother's little, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. It's just all bullshit. My mother's terrified. She's terrified of what will happen if a stranger takes over. And under the circumstances, I don't blame her. Because I don't trust the elder abuse people either. That they're out for their own agenda. That they're, she thinks they're going to take all her money, that they're after all her money, etc., etc., etc. If they weren't involved at all, and just, let's say if I was trying to have a third party appointed, then there would be no elder abuse involved in it, But that's not the case, and my mother's terrified. But that alone, never mind all the other proof that I have, my mother had completely separate. She was totally stripping. She wasn't just saying revoke the power of attorney or remain no, and you can still know. No, she didn't even want her sister to know anything about her health, about anything. And she discovered a secret life insurance policy she knew nothing about. Okay. Obviously, if she stripped Auntie of all power, she's not going to have there be a life insurance with Auntie as the beneficiary. But you see where I'm going here, people? I know that you're smart enough to see where I'm going here. Either way, I get screwed. Okay? Royally. All that I have is my ability to tell my story. It's pretty much all I have left. Because if there's no lawyer out there who's willing to accept my case on a contingency basis, Even the motherfucking criminals in that motherfucking hospital are gonna get away with the way they treated me. 100% get away with it. My mother's caught in the middle. My mother's terrified. My mother's on way too much medication. She doesn't know if she's probably gonna be. I said, Auntie loves having you on tons of psych meds, Mom. She always has pushed for more. She believes the more the better. She's of that mentality. I know. Are you going to have to take that much even when you get on the outside world, despite the fact that your psychiatrist did listen to you and was low? Probably. You know what I mean? This is all a fucking joke. I know based on what my cousin found out from different family members and whatnot that Auntie was trying to say that my mom spent most of her settlement again with no checks and balances on Auntie. Auntie can say any goddamn thing she wants to. I prearranged your funeral or some such shit. You didn't need to prearrange her funeral, Auntie. You took out a life insurance policy on her with you as the beneficiary. A small life insurance policy with the money coming out of the joint account or what, coming from my mother's money. You know what I mean? She's full of shit. She can fuck with my mother's head endlessly. And now Uncle is joined in. He was 100% against his sister, and now he's 100% on her side. If he was ever against her to begin with, if that was all a ploy. I'm a peon here, people. A peon. But unfortunately for all involved, I have a brain and I have the ability to say exactly what is going on here. What has been going on here for years. And in the end, my senior citizen mother is on way too many psych meds. Way too much. More than she's ever been on. She feels helpless. She feels like that has to continue. And she knows damn well that Auntie always thinks that she needs to be on more, my mother needs to be on more psych meds. Whereas I know the truth. The atypical antipsychotics, of which Depakote and Seroquel are two of them, the newer ones, the FDA puts its strongest black box warning on. Proceed with caution in our elderly. Proceed with caution when it's that's what they say, the FDA. Well, I don't like them anyway, but yeah, they even say they were forced to put their strongest black box warning because it's so likely to cause death. Proceed with caution. Joe was saying before, your mother's trapped on the big pharma, the hamster wheel of big pharma, and now it's truer than ever. And she's stuck in the middle, and she's stuck in a hospital, and she's torn, and she's, you know, she'll agree to anything, she'll say anything. But I sure as fuck am not going to be present. I mean, I'm not going to not be present when it's happening. If these motherfuckers are going to lie about me,